Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are to discuss IAS 8 that deals with accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates and errors. In this video, we will try to solve questions that appeared in CIE exams and we will discuss the theory of this chapter. First of all, let us discuss IAS 8. Students, three things we will discuss today: accounting policies, accounting estimates, and errors. First of all, we need to discuss what is accounting policy and what is the difference between accounting policies and accounting estimates. Students, for inventory valuation methods, there are three methods: first in, first out, AVCO, and last in, first out. For depreciation, we can use straight line method, we can use reducing balance method. We have to select one for inventory and we have to select one for depreciation. So whatever we select will be accounting policy. And what is accounting estimate? Accounting estimate is determining useful life of asset, rate of depreciation, rate of provision for doubtful debts, provision for doubtful debts is known as rate of allowance for irrecoverable debts. So student, hope you learned what is the difference between an accounting policy and accounting estimate. Accounting policies are specific principles, basis, conventions, rules and practices applied by an entity in preparing and presenting financial statements. For accounting policies, we will discuss how to select an accounting policy, how to change an accounting policy. IAS 8 says when for a specific accounting policy an accounting standard is available, we will follow accounting standard. If for a specific policy there are guidelines from a specific IAS, we will follow that IAS. But what if there is no specific IAS on a certain matter? What will we do? Then IAS 8 says management will use its judgment in developing and in development and application of an accounting policy. So students, how will this judgment be made? By applying the basic principle of fundamental qualitative characteristics and enhancing qualitative characteristics. So students, अगर कोई स्पेसिफिक पॉलिसी के मुतालिक कोई स्टैंडर्ड नहीं है तो हम जजमेंट अपनी यूज़ करते हुए हमने सिर्फ ये देखना है कि वट एवर द पॉलिसी वी आर अडॉप्टिंग, वी आर सेलेक्टिंग, वो रेलेवेंट इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड कर रही है, वो फेथफुल प्रेजेंटेशन कर रही है, क्या वो कंप्लीट है, फ्री फ्रॉम एरर्स है, न्यूट्रल है, क्या वो रिलायबल है, क्या वो अंडरस्टैंडेबल है, क्या वो कंपेयरेबल है, क्या वो टाइमली मिल जाएगी. सो इफ़ those qualities are present and there is no specific IAS, वी कैन सेलेक्ट दैट पॉलिसी। पॉलिसी हमने सेलेक्ट कर ली। जैसे इफ़ यू टॉक अबाउट इन्वेंट्री, देर आर थ्री मेथड्स ऑफ इन्वेंट्री वेरिएशन, फर्स्ट इन फर्स्ट आउट, एवको एंड लास्ट इन फर्स्ट आउट। IAS 2 says कि last in first out cannot be used, so none of the entities can apply this IAS. So we can select either first in first out or evco for inventory valuation. Similarly, both methods are allowed for depreciation straight line method and reducing balance method, although there are many other methods, but we are discussing here only two. So once a policy is selected and an organization wants to change the policy, the rule is the organization can change the accounting policy only if the change is required by an accounting standard. अगर कोई accounting standard नया आ गया है या किसी accounting standard में change आई है जो कहे कि अब इसको change करें, जैसे LIFO was allowed once, लेकिन फिर IAS 2 चेंज हो गया, उन्होंने कहा जी अब आप LIFO यूज़ नहीं कर सकते, फ्रॉम नाउ ऑनवर्ड आप जो है वो इसको अडॉप्ट नहीं करेंगे, तो अब कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इसको अडॉप्ट नहीं कर सकती। लेकिन उस वक्त जो LIFO यूज़ कर रहे थे उनको चेंज करना पड़ा। तो फिर चेंज कैसे करना है? चेंज की कंडीशन, फर्स्ट कंडीशन क्या है कि इफ़ अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड रिक्वायर्स यू कैन चेंज इट। अगर अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं आई, क्या हम फिर भी चेंज कर सकते हैं? यस। अगर क्वालिटेटिव करेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स एनहेंस हो तो फिर हम चेंज कर सकते हैं, अदरवाइज नहीं कर सकते। अगर हमने पॉलिसी चेंज की है, चाहे वो क्वालिटेटिव करेक्टरिस्टिक एनहेंस करने के लिए की है, चाहे वो हमें IAS ने कही है, तो हमने उसको नंबर 1 उसको डिस्क्लोज करना है फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट में। नंबर 2, हाउ दिस चेंज विल बी अप्लाइड? दिस चेंज विल बी अप्लाइड रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली। रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव ट्रीटमेंट कहते हैं कि इस तरह ठीक करना जैसे वो एरर कभी हुई ही नहीं, इस तरह अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी चेंज करना जैसे न्यू पॉलिसी फ्रॉम बिगिनिंग एप्लीकेबल है। जैसे अगर मैं एग्जांपल दूँ LIFO की, तो जो LIFO यूज़ कर रहे थे, जब IAS 2 चेंज हुआ उन्होंने कहा LIFO नहीं यूज़ कर सकते, तो आप जब LIFO से फर्स्ट इन फर्स्ट आउट पे शिफ्ट करेंगे या एवको पे शिफ्ट करेंगे, तो आपने इस तरह शिफ्ट करना है कि वो इन्वेंट्री जब से आपके पास अवेलेबल है आपने उसको शुरू से FIFO या एवको पे कन्वर्ट करना है, सिर्फ करंट पीरियड में नहीं करना। रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव ट्रीटमेंट कहते हैं कि आपने फ्रॉम प्रायर पीरियड्स की से जो है वो उस पॉलिसी को चेंज करना है। अकाउंटिंग एस्टीमेट्स, IAS 8 says you can change estimates. You don't need retrospective treatment for changes in accounting estimates. If you have new information, you want to change rate of depreciation. For example, last year it was 15%, now you want to change it to 20%. You can change it from current year. You don't need to change it from prior period. So IAS says the revision of estimate does not relate to prior periods and therefore not correction of an error. So accounting estimate will be from now onwards. This is also known as prospective treatment. Prospective treatment. And if we make a change from prior periods, this is known as retrospective treatment. And for errors, IAS says general principle is that an entry must correct material errors. एक तो हमने material errors of prior periods हर हाल में ठीक करनी है, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, हमने retrospectively ठीक करनी है, हर हाल में एरर्स को ठीक करना है। और रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली करना है कि एरर जब हुई थी तब से लेकर सारी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स को रीस्टेट करना है। ठीक है, कब ठीक करना है? जिस दिन एरर मिली उसके बाद जो भी पहला सेट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स ऑथोराइज फॉर इशू होगा, अप्रूवल के लिए जाएगा। जब एरर मिली उसके बाद जब भी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स अप्रूवल के लिए जाएंगी तो वो करंट पीरियड के लिए भी ठीक होके जाएंगी, प्रीवियस पीरियड के लिए भी ठीक हो गई जाएंगी। उसके बाद ये दिस वॉज third one, and fourth one is comparative amounts from prior periods must be restated. Every organization is required to prepare financial statements and show comparative figures from previous years. ठीक है, तो जो प्रीवियस ईयर की कंपैरेटिव फिगर होगी वो भी हमने रीस्टेट करनी है, उसको भी ठीक करके लिखना है। एंड इट विल ऑल्सो बी डिस्क्लोज टू फाइनेंशियल स्टेट इन द नोट्स टू फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट। सो स्टूडेंट्स, एरर्स को ठीक करने को भी डिस्क्लोज करना है नोट्स टू फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में। चेंजेस इन एस्टीमेट्स को भी हमने नोट्स टू फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में डिस्क्लोज करना है, और चेंजेस इन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज़ को भी हमने नोट्स टू फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में डिस्क्लोज करना है। नाउ लेट अस मूव टू द क्वेश्चंस रिलेटिंग टू IAS 8. Students, this is question from May June 25, paper 3-2, question number 2. Trade receivables net of allowance for irrecoverable debts was 83,600. It means they have already deducted provision for doubtful debts. Allowance for irrecoverable debt should have been increased from 5% to 6%. This is change in accounting estimates. That's why will be dealt in IAS 8. So how much change will be in the profit? We have to make calculations. So what will be the calculation? So students, this 83,600 is after deduction of 5%. So we can say this is 95%. What will be the amount before this provision for doubtful debts? By cross multiplication we can calculate it. X is equal to 83,600 multiplied by 100% divided by 95%. So this will be 88,000. So students, before providing provision for doubtful debts, the trade receivables were 88,000. Now there is one other problem. The problem is business has come to know that there was a bad debts of 7,000. So first of all, 88,000 minus 7,000, remaining trade receivables are 81,000, and we are supposed to provide provision for doubtful debts at the rate of 6%. Now we will calculate 6% of this value. This is 4860. So students, provision for doubtful debts applied in the question was 88,000 minus 83,600. 88,000 was the full amount. 83,600 is the amount given after provision. So this was 4,400. Previously provision was calculated as 4,400, while according to the new estimate it should be 4,860. So provision is increased by 4,860 minus 4,400. So students, this is 460. This is increase in provision and profit will be decreased. And students, uh, profit will be decreased by 460 according to point number 2, and profit will also be decreased by 7,000 according to point number 1. This was a recoverable debt, and this is provision, increase in provision for doubtful debts. So because there was a change in estimate, that's why it was dealt in IAS 8. Now let us move to the next question. So students, this is May June 22 QP 32 and question number 2. In the financial statements of 2020, students, we are at the end of 31st December 2021. So they are talking about previous year's financial statement. A non-current assets were wrongly classified with the effect that depreciation has been overcharged by 20,000 in 2020. यानी लास्ट ईयर में 20,000 की आपकी डेप्रिसिएशन ज़्यादा चार्ज हुई है, एंड इन द करंट ईयर 14,000 has been overcharged. So students, current year depreciation overcharge will be dealt in income statement. So profit will be decreased. Current year's profit will be decreased by 14,000. While prior period, previous year's depreciation that was overcharged, हम इसको retained earning का जो हमारा opening balance है उसमें से minus कर देंगे. This is what is required. Explain the accounting treatment of the following with reference to the relevant international accounting standards. So this is IAS 8. We will name IAS 8, and the name of IAS 8 is accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates and errors. So 20,000 will be subtracted from retained earnings, and 14,000 opening balance of retained earning, and 14,000 will be subtracted from current year's profit. Let us move to the next question. So students, this is question from May June 17, question paper 3-1 and question number 2, and its E part says G Limited adopted the weighted average cost method, AVCO method. This is accounting policy to ascertain the value of inventories in 2016. The purchase price has been increasing over the last year. The directors are now considering changing first in first out method to value the inventory. मतलब previously they were using AVCO, now they want to change first in first out. Why? Because increasing prices हैं बेटे. जब increasing prices में if we use first in first out, आपकी इन्वेंट्री की वैल्यू बढ़ जाएगी एंड प्रॉफिट विल बी इंक्रीज्ड. अगर हम एवको यूज़ करेंगे तो प्रॉफिट कम आएगा इंक्रीजिंग वैल्यू में. अगर हम फाइफो यूज़ करेंगे तो प्रॉफिट ज़्यादा आएगा. दैट्स वाई मैनेजमेंट वांट्स टू चेंज इन्वेंट्री वैल्यूएशन मेथड ऑफ एवको टू फाइफो, एंड वी आर रिक्वायर्ड एडवाइस whether or not the method of valuation inventory should be changed. Justify your answer. First of all, bete AVCO and FIFO, both methods are allowed by IAS 2. IAS 2. But change in accounting policy, change from FIFO EVCO to FIFO just because profit will be increased is not allowed by IAS 8. So IAS 8 will not allow us to change because there is no justifiable reason. IAS 8 says business should select and apply the accounting policies consistently. We cannot change because ये consistently apply नहीं हो रहा. Business shall change an accounting policy as we already discussed if it is required by IAS. क्या इस सिचुएशन में IAS रिक्वायर कर रहा है कि चेंज कर लें? नो, इसलिए हम इसको नहीं चेंज कर सकते. क्या रेलेवेंट एंड रिलायबल इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए हम इसको चेंज कर रहे हैं? नो. सो स्टूडेंट्स, we cannot change this accounting policy. We must continue to apply EVCO. Let us move to the next question. It is question number October November 16, paper 3 question number 3. The method of inventory valuation has been changed at the end of the year from EVCO to FIFO. The same situation as in the last question. The EVCO valuation had been 142,000 whereas FIFO valuation was 184,000. अब क्या कर रहे हैं? EVCO to FIFO. EVCO to FIFO क्यों चेंज करना चाहते हैं? क्योंकि वैल्यू ऑफ इन्वेंट्री इंक्रीज हो रही है. वैल्यू ऑफ इन्वेंट्री जब इंक्रीज होती है बेटे तो प्रॉफिट भी इंक्रीज हो जाता है. सेम इंटेंशंस हैं जैसे हमने पहले क्वेश्चन में डिस्कस किया कि बिकॉज द इंटेंशंस ऑफ द डायरेक्टर्स आर जस्ट टू शो मोर प्रॉफिट्स, देयर इज नो चेंज रिक्वायर्ड बाय IAS और देयर इज नो रीजनेबल we can say there is no reason to change this method because consistency principle will be impaired, because change of accounting policy in this case is not required. So if they have recorded inventory as at 184,000 instead of 142, the profit should be changed. 184,000 minus 142,000, that means their profit is overstated by the difference. I think it is 42,000. So the profit should be changed accordingly. We are not allowed to change accounting policy in this question. Now October November 15, paper 4-2. When preparing income statement, Jamal treated an opening inventory of 6,000 as closing inventory and closing inventory of 4,000 as an opening inventory. So students, this is an error. Now let us suppose opening inventory and closing inventory. Opening inventory actually was 6,000 and we reported it at 4,000, while closing inventory was 4,000. We reported it in the financial statements as 6,000. It is clearly seen that opening inventory is overstated by 2,000, while closing inventory is understated by 2,000. So students, if opening inventory is overstated, then cost of sales is also overstated. So profit is understated. Sorry, opening inventory is understated. And closing inventory is overstated. So students, if opening inventory is understated, cost of sales is also understated. हमने कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल कम लिखी है. सो कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल जब इंक्रीज करेंगे, जब इस एरर को करेक्ट करेंगे, तो कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल्स विल बी इंक्रीज एंड प्रॉफिट विल बी डिक्रीज्ड बाय 2000. To correct this error, profit will be decreased by 2000. And when we will correct the error of closing inventory, because closing inventory is overstated, when closing inventory is overstated, profit is also overstated. When we will correct this error, again profit will be decreased by 2000. So by correcting this error, in total profit will be decreased by 4000. May June 15, question paper 4-3. The directors of Plantin PLC have recently discovered that a material error in the published financial statements. So students, IAS 8 requires to correct all material errors for the year ended 31st March 2014. It was discovered that sales of 30,000 which had never taken place had been included in the revenue and trade receivables. State how this error has affected the financial statements, number 1, and number 2, explain how the directors of Plantin PLC should deal with this error in the financial statement. So students, first of all, number 1, how this error has affected revenue is overstated, trade receivables is also overstated, profit and retained earning is also overstated by this error. Now how to correct it? Now we have to explain according to the IAS 8 how this error should be dealt. Students, as we already have discussed, that IAS 8 states all material errors must be corrected. And corrected retrospectively. Comparative figures must be restated. And when this error will be corrected? In the next financial statements for approval. So this is all about IAS 8. Students, hope you have learned the concept of IAS 8. Thank you very much. Inshallah, in the next video we will be discussing IAS 10. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.